I was just reading them on my own all the time. And when we threw out the idea in the book club, I thought it was a great idea, good opportunity to get the points of view from other folks that we read the book with, and it's kind of become a family to me. They're not all carnivores. They're whatever they are, but we like their ideas and we learn from them. That's great about book club.
So what were some of your thoughts on that discussion and that idea that we should be investigating other people even if we don't agree with them? Hello, and welcome to another episode of Balanced Body Radio. I'm your host, Casey Ruff, and today we have another amazing guest to reintroduce to you now. Olivia Khwaja is a returning guest on our show. Be sure to check out her first appearance on episode 450 of Balanced Body Radio. Olivia Khwaja is a board trustee for the Public Health Collaboration, also known as the PHC in England. This nonprofit organization hopes to challenge the landscape of healthcare in the United Kingdom and beyond from both the bottom up and the top down, reaching doctors and clinicians, as well as educating patients, and also attempting to influence politicians who can affect important nutritional policy decisions. These nutritional interventions could save the healthcare systems trillions of dollars around the world. Previous to working for the PHC, Olivia had been a consumer strategist and marketing expert for large brands for over 20 years and has worked on several award-winning projects. As an advocate for health in the low carbohydrate space, Olivia has a particular passion for empowering the younger generation to make informed decisions about their own health. She also hosts an amazing book club, which I am happy to belong to, featuring multiple-time former guest Dr. Anthony Chaffee. You can find his book club on his Patreon, which is a very high value, very inexpensive for everything you get there. You can also find Olivia on Twitter and Instagram at Olivia Khwaja, and you can find her absolutely adorable kids on Instagram as well, sharing such a cool message and amazing recipes. You can find that at real_food_kids. Olivia Khwaja, what an absolute honor it is to welcome you back to Balanced Body Radio.
Thanks for having me back. One of my favorite people to talk to and one of my favorite things to talk about. So I'm very excited to be here.
That's great. I loved hanging out with you. We've got to hang out in person twice. It was a little bit warmer in San Diego than it was in Denver in February. So that was really nice to sit by the beach, by the water, and have lunch and hang out and chat. And yeah, I loved chatting with you. We had this idea actually to do a kind of special episode today about the book club. And I want to just kind of tee this up by saying, like, all of us in the low carb or carnivore space, we have our heroes, right? Like, we've got Dr. Anthony Chaffee, we've got Dr. Sean Baker, we've got Dr. Ken Berry and Kevin Stock and all these guys and you know, women in this space who are doing such amazing work. They're all super fit. They look amazing. And yet there's also this the community underneath that is following all of these people. They're just kind of everyday people. And the book club has been such an amazing collection of people around the world who have amazing stories to tell. And it's just been really interesting to kind of participate in. What has been your experience with hosting this book club?
It has been a fantastic experience. I think you summed it up so perfectly there. I think we are in a really strange place and time in our human existence is kind of how, if I take a step back and look at it, where we've all seemed to have, you know, especially anyone in this nutrition space, woken up to a time and a place where what we're supposed to eat is just a big question mark. And if you're lucky, you know, most people don't even know that that has to be questioned. And we are, for those of us who have realized that there are different ways to eat that can really improve our health, we're trying to figure out, well, okay, if this works for me now and I'm in this community and I've had this experience and I'm feeling so much better, how on earth am I going to make sense of the rest of the world and exist in society around me when I'm so different to everyone else? And look at, you know, every time we go to the supermarket, you're in this position where you're looking and staring at all these products in the aisles and you're going, what is going on, you know? And as you said, there's many experts that have helped us get to this point, and it's fantastic that they exist. Thank God they do. And they've allowed us to reclaim our health. But once you've done that, I think what people are finding is that they're in this position where they don't know what to do next. They maybe want to question some of the things that they think they know because they've kind of appreciate that they've stumbled upon it out of kind of luck maybe, and the YouTube algorithm and how they found some of these people that helped them through. But maybe they could have gone down a different path, and maybe they would have been a totally different diet. So it almost is the whole kind of happenstance of it, I think, has left people a little bit unsettled by where we're all at. And so we're asking questions, and people are asking questions about, well, okay, I feel amazing, but why is it that this person also says the opposite and he feels amazing, and they have an argument that seems to be evidence backed and they make sense as well? And how do I reconcile it with what I've heard? And you're left kind of asking these questions, and you're also left in having to interact with people around you and justify yourself. And I think that's how this kind of came about, is we're asking questions because we want to be able to put forward what we're doing with conviction and be able to explain it to people. And it's just like a language. If you understand a language and you can hear it, it's not the same as talking the language yourself and having the confidence to do that. And so I think we've all just kind of come together on this journey. We're in this community as part of Dr. Anthony Chaffee's Patreon, as you mentioned, and it's a fantastic community, amazing people, as you said. But we just found ourselves asking about the same kind of questions about the same kind of time. So we started to read books, and then we realized that we're all reading the same books at the same time. So we thought, one of my ideas was, well, let's just run a book club and do it together and have conversations about what we're reading. And I think that it just evolved because the need was there and people are in this situation together. And, we happen to have some fantastic people in the community. And so, yeah, about over a year ago, we put together this book club, and I'll tell you some stories about how it started out. It wasn't as good as it is now. But we've been, reading away, meeting every week, asking questions of each other. I'm probably a little bit of an antagonist in the mix because I like to really challenge everyone, even though I think we can be at risk of sitting on our laurels a little bit, feeling a bit confident that our health is so great, and we don't need to kind of question it. We've solved it. But I think we should still always be ready for what people will do, which is to question us at some point in time. So I always have that kind of devil's advocate position, and always try and make sure that we're not getting dogmatic about what we believe, and that we're open-minded, and that we're really challenging ourselves and looking at all points of view. So we've even done a book which is like the total opposite to everything we think and believe, and that was a pretty challenging month. But it worked. In the end, it worked. So we've kind of evolved, and we found ourselves here, and it really works really well. Everyone is very, very tight-knit and really knows what was going on in everyone else's life, and we chat about everything we're reading, the kind of questions that it naturally brings up for us, the experiences that we relate to within the book, and we're just learning so much along the way. So yeah, it's working really well at the moment.
I love that. Well, I'm so excited to ask you more questions about the book club. We've got a special format today, though, where we're going to be inviting in some of the members of the book club. I don't know if it's graded or not, if attendance is graded. My attendance is less than stellar in the book club, as it falls in a very tricky time in my schedule. So as you're talking about the community, it makes me very jealous because it's a wonderful community. At the times that I've been able to participate, you really get a sense of, the people that are in the community and asking really genuine questions. And so since you know these people much better than I do, I'm going to turn the microphone over to you a little bit more. I might have some questions here and there. And again, I'll have some questions for you along the way. But we're going to invite our first person in to our conversation, which is Mike, I believe. And so we're going to let him in now.
Uh-huh.
There we go.
Hello, Mike.
Hey, Casey, Olivia, how you guys doing?
Very good. Like the hat, Mike.
Oh, yeah. Good one.
Well, welcome to the show, Mike. We're honored to have you. And I believe Olivia might have some questions for you. And we'd love to hear your story about how you found the carnivore diet and Chaffee's book club.
Okay, thank you. I'd love to talk about it.
Mike, if you just intro yourself and tell us what you think so far of it all.
Yeah. I guess thanks for having me. First of all, my name's Mike. I live in Las Vegas. I've been keto more seriously since about 2012, and carnivore since 2018. The highest weight I ever measured was about 415 pounds when I started this current lifestyle, and maintained it ever since. So I was about 380, because I got down to about 380 through keto. And then from 380, now I'm down hovering around 220. And I'm just healing. I'm just taking my time. I'm not in any hurry. The weight's just a side benefit, but I'm just healing from everything I did up through my 40s. So I'm 57 now. But yeah, I've watched a lot of Casey's videos. I got into this whole lifestyle when I started doing carnivore. I watched a lot of videos. Casey's has so many great guests on, and it gives me an idea of where to start. And then I search from there because the guests give such great information. And then, I just go from those opinions and move on from there. as far as book club, which is I love, I was never in a book club prior to this. I was just reading them on my own all the time. And when we threw out the idea in the book club, I thought it was a great idea, good opportunity to get the points of views from other folks that we read the book with. And it's kind of become a family to me. So I pretty much go to Discord every day, and then I look forward to book club every week.
That's very nice of you to say that, Mike, but that wasn't the experience at the start, was it? So tell us what happened in month one.
No. In the beginning, I gotta say, yeah, our first book was Guns, Germs, and Steel. And I remember I didn't really agree a lot with the author. He kind of has some ideas, but I was like, well, and I thought I mentioned to you and I think Jared offline that, yeah, I don't know if I'm going to continue doing this. I don't agree. This guy just rubs me the wrong way. I don't like his ideas. And you said, you reminded me, unless we embrace other ideas, we can't just, be in a vacuum and learn from what and how they originate, how they got to where they are, see the full picture. I decided to continue on. I did that, and I'm glad I did, because we learn so much from other views. It helps us, if we just read the same thing we always read, we don't learn. We just confirm. And I like that part, the confirmation, but I really enjoy the growing, the learning, the finding out how much better things can be, putting it together. Yeah.
I also felt very sorry for me that month because I was picking on you to say things in book club all the time, and if you left, we had no book club, and so I think you just took pity on me at that point.
No, I appreciate you. You're the best thing our Discord has, and you brought the book club here, and you bring in authors. We had, another thing was we were reading The Big Fat Surprise, and Olivia gave us a big fat surprise with Nina, the author, actually showing up to our final meeting. So it was like, holy cow, we got an author who we've been reading and sitting there and answering questions. It was like, what book club does that? I don't know if they all do, but this was great. I was like, wow. And ever since then, for like the last 10, 12 books, I think we've read about 10 or 12. We've had the authors there. We've had like Bikman. We've had, everybody you can think of. They all show up. So what a great opportunity. Pick their brains, see what they're doing. And wow, I'm just impressed. Like I said, it's a family. And then I feel like the authors are kind of in the family because we just talk with them. They're not, they can be themselves a little more than trying to appeal to a larger audience. We're like a niche group. They're not all carnivores. They're whatever they are, but we like their ideas and we learn from it. That's great about book club. Book club is awesome.
Yeah. It just kind of happened that way because I was working with Nina at the time, and we were doing her book, and I said to her, would you be able to come along and just talk to us and let us ask you questions? So I didn't tell anyone in the group that we were going to do that. But I said, just make sure you're there, please. Just make sure you turn up. And so it was nice to bring Nina out. And that was our second book. So not the one that Mike described as being very difficult to start with, but the second one, we went from basically a really difficult book to start with that we all found hard to read to having Nina on for the second book, which was Big Fat Surprise. So that kind of set us off on this path of saying, well, let's just keep asking the authors along. And we happen to know quite a few of them from my work and through Anthony as well. And they've just been showing up. And it makes sense from their point of view because, we're giving, their book a lot of attention, and then we can ask them questions and they get to speak to real readers that have read their book and are coming up with real, genuine questions. It's not like any other kind of format. So that seems to have just continued to be a feature. And, I think I've ruined it for anyone else who wants to join a future book club, because why would you read a book if you can't ask the author with questions at the end? So yeah, that's worked really well.
That's amazing. Mike, what were some of the other authors that really stood out to you?
Well, I've got them all here. We just did Lierre Keith last book. She impressed the heck out of me. Her story, her struggle, where she was almost dead, and she said she was almost dead. She spoke to this guru guy, and he kind of could sense her whole thing where you're dead inside, basically. She's like, whoa. Took the change. She was vegan, vegetarian, went carnivore, healed her up. She looks great. She is so vibrant, so energetic. I think she was great. Bikman was great. Let me remember down here. Bikman was great. Yeah, Diana Rodgers, Robert Lustig, Bikman, Malcolm Kendrick, Valley Norton, Jayne Buxton, Chris Palmer, Jared Diamond. Will Harris, we're on him now. We're reading that one. His A Bold Return to Giving a Damn, great book. We're almost done with that. But, we also read Simon Hill's book. That one, The Proof is in the whatever, something. Anyway, none of us really agreed with him. Obviously, he's got so many, he throws out these straw man arguments. He's just very, just watching a lot of his videos as well. But we wanted to bring it in because he's different. Let's hear what he's got to say. Maybe, maybe we might learn something, about ourselves and about each other, because we get in discussions and sometimes the discussion branches off from the book. We have these little side conversations, and it's like I said, it's a family thing. It's like Thanksgiving, family sitting around the table, we talk about everything. But yeah, just great authors. All those authors, they're all great. They have so much knowledge, so much to share. I'm glad we got to share and meet them. We met just about every one of them. So it's really great.
Awesome. Wow. Well, Mike, your story is absolutely incredible. So grateful to be able to meet you. I'm just really close to you in Salt Lake City. So I'll be visiting Olivia sometime to watch Formula One in England, and I'll be visiting you sometime to watch Formula One in Las Vegas. Besides that, thank you so very much for coming on our show today and sharing your story. It's really inspiring. It's really inspirational. And I really respect that you were able to take on content that you wouldn't necessarily agree with, but to be able to hear it and understand the differences and just appreciate it for what it is. I think that takes a lot of courage, and I just really respect your story. So thank you so very much for coming on, and thank you for the kind words.
Thank you, Casey. Appreciate it. Appreciate you and Olivia, both of you.
Bye.
Well, thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Well,
that was a cool start, Olivia.
Yeah. Yeah, probably worth me saying just on the time zones. I think you said it was a global enterprise, this book club. But we are pretty much we have people from, and you'll see Krys joining us next, is in Melbourne. Mike is kind of West Coast or Vegas and on the West Coast time zone. Then we have every single time zone in between, the kind of land-filled way around the world. So we're going from East Coast Australia to West Coast USA, all of Europe and everything in between, and everyone from that kind of range of locations dials in every week for our book club. And so it does mean, especially this time of the year when the way the clocks are, you've got a massive difference in time. So we've got people joining at 11 p.m. their time, Mike joins at 4 a.m. his time, and people are getting up for it because they just want to be part of it. There's another lady, Leanne, who's where Mike is, and she decided to stay up the other night, and she hadn't done the reading. She knew she was going to be joining at 4 a.m. So she just read all through the night to catch up, and then came straight into book club at 4 a.m. and was ready for book club, because that's how dedicated she is to wanting to be part of it. Like, it just amazes me that people would not normally join calls at this time of the day in any other walk of life, but people just love being part of this and having our discussions each week. So it's incredible to see
that's amazing. That's exactly why I wanted to do this and bring these people in. It's so inspiring. I love Mike's point about reading, again, some of the things that he didn't necessarily agree with. And you're the perfect person to ask about this, since you helped to host the public health collaboration debate that was hosted earlier this year with, carnivores and plant-based people. So what were some of your thoughts on that discussion and that idea that we should be investigating other people even if we don't agree with them?
Oh, I mean, I guess it's just part of me to do that. Like, I've always wanted to seek the opposite view. It's even when I was very involved in my previous life and kind of in political arguments and being kind of close to one side of a political debate, I was always like actively seeking out the opposite side, because until you have listened to that opposite side, until you've lived in it, until you have spoken to people and kind of breathed it, you don't actually always get it. Like, it's very easy to judge it from one side when you have a perception of what people think on that side, and it's very easy to put that all down to people being ignorant or stupid or just not having a worldly view or whatever it might be. I hate when people are biased in that way or have a bias and they don't actively seek to do anything about it. Like, everyone has a bias, that's just natural, but I think you have to make yourself understand the other side of the argument, because I don't think your argument's particularly good if you don't understand it and you can't if you can't argue against it. It just means that your viewpoint is just your own personal view, which isn't that informed. So that comes through in the public health collaboration as well. Last year was the first time, but this year was the first time that we staged a debate and a discussion, as we like to call it, and brought in people with differing views on purpose. And it was a big question mark as to whether it could work, because it could have gone really badly wrong. There could have been, very conflicting views in a way which comes across as aggressive, and it isn't positive and a good experience for people to learn. And that's not what we wanted to do. We wanted people to actually be able to see all this information laid out side by side and get that kind of back and forth going, so that they can actually just kind of qualify all these viewpoints that they keep hearing once they're put up against each other. So I think I'm just naturally, unfortunately, like this. And I've pulled everyone into it, even though they hated me for making them do the Simon Hill book. And I said, look, we can do it, we can get through it. But probably at some point they're going to walk out and just said they've had enough of it.
Hey guys, just want to take a second to thank our sponsor, Carnivore Bar. I don't promote many products because honestly, all you need to be healthy is to just eat meat. For those times that you're out hiking, road tripping, or stuck at work and you want a nutritious snack that is just meat, fat, and salt if you want it, the Carnivore Bar is a great option. So I like this product not because it's just pure meat, but also because I want the carnivore market to thrive as well. And the more we support meat-only products, the more meat-only products there will be available in the mainstream. So if this sounds like something you'd like to get behind, check it out using my discount code Anthony to get 10% off, which also applies to subscriptions, giving you 25% off total. All right, thanks guys.
I think it's really important. It's like Mike said, like, he was able to recognize that they were straw man arguments. They weren't very convincing, and that's really important. And everybody is so unique and individual that carnivore might not work for everybody. It's hard to imagine ourselves in other people's lives. And so I do think that viewpoint is really important. And on that note, we've got our second guest.
Aha, here she is.
Hello.
Hello, hello.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Join us in her pajamas every week, and today is no exception. What time?
Why would it be any different, except that I've made sure I put on my finest robe for you.
We really appreciate that. Thanks for classing up our show today.
What time is it where you are, Krys? Just
it's 2:25 in the morning, but you know, the things you do for book club. I know Mike gets up early for me every week, so I'm happy to take one for the team.
Wow, you certainly are.
I mean, it's true to say we have never seen Krys not in pajamas, so we don't know whether that actually is something she does ever venture down that road of dressing up, but it's either really early or really late for you. So anyway, so we are. So Krys, I was just going to ask you a few questions to share your experience with book club that we've been talking about. Just tell us, a little bit about your journey, what your overall thoughts are on the book club so far.
Oh, I love it. It was one of the first things. I didn't know about it when I joined the Patreon group. I joined the Patreon group because I was just so excited to have a carnivore influencer in Australia, even though Anthony does hail from America. I felt like he was close to home, so I was looking forward to supporting him, and I just really loved his message. And then when I joined, and book club had only just started. You guys were just finishing your first book, and from what I read in the group, it wasn't super well received, but you were going to persevere and try another one. And I love reading, and I really like trying to figure out how things work. So I have an engineering background, and so human bodies are so complicated, and so are people in general, and society and the way things work. So I've really enjoyed learning more about nutrition and all other aspects, the way people think and how we've been led down this road of mainstream nutrition. it's just been like eye-opening. So I've really enjoyed learning all the different aspects about carnivore. Really, well, it's not even really about carnivore, actually. We're talking about nutrition and environment and everything in general. So yeah, I've just really enjoyed that.
You joined at the right time, because that was the month we had Nina on. And what was your reaction to that when it happened?
Yeah, so it was you're very sneaky, because we had no idea. And then there was going to be some sort of surprise. Like, you were really emphasizing that we should come to that session. So there was going to be some sort of surprise. And then I saw like a person join, and I thought it was going to be Anthony, because he hadn't been to book club then. And I was like, yay, this is excellent. And then, it wasn't Anthony, it was her. And it was amazing. And just the way that you are so well connected, and you managed to get authors to come on and speak to us, it is just invaluable, because you've read their book, they've slaved away at this book, and given us all this amazing information. But especially someone like me, I often have some questions. Didn't quite get everything there, or maybe I got a bit confused about some things, and to be able to ask the person directly who wrote this book is just amazing. Now the pressure, ever since then, the pressure's been on to you, for you to we can only pick books basically where you're connected to the author, pretty much.
Sometimes I say, look, I really think we should read this book this month, because I'm just putting it out there, because I'm working with that book. So anyway, so yeah, it's great. Yeah, and then I think I was just remembering like the time when we had Jayne on, and she was, again, I think, one of the first authors. And Jayne has, by the way, become a little bit of an adopted book club member. She turns up when she likes. She's kind of an honorary status with us, and she's fantastic, and we loved her book. But I remember you challenging her on that book, and we didn't know her very well at that point. That was the first time we met her, and just like you just said, you had questions for her.
I
you
had
put them
questions.
to her.
I'm like, there is some inconsistency. I'm really sorry, Jay. Hers is one of my favorites that we've covered. I really, really like her book. She's very, very thorough, and covers all aspects of, food, in terms of nutrition, in terms of environment, and in terms of ethics. And that was the first book we did. And her detail and her research is amazing. And because of that, she might have put in extra detail or something. Anyway, I'm like, I'm a little bit confused why I think it was about, I don't remember, some of the nutrients, that are necessary in plants.
If you're in a restaurant and you can't get the right meats, then order vegetables.
Yeah, then you should choose the vegetarian option. And I'm like, no, surely not. And then, and she said, oh, actually, I think she said her daughter picked up on that as well. And anyway, she was beautiful, the way she explained that she couldn't go too extreme, because she didn't want to lose too many people. And, we have to walk a very soft path when talking to other people about these things. We can't go too hardcore. And she's not a carnivore herself, but she's just, it was great. And, she took my question and she answered it, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah, I think she even said, she said, you're totally right, I shouldn't have done that, and now that I'm looking back, I wish I'd written it differently. And we were like,
and I'm like, I feel bad, because it was such an amazing book, like literally one of my favorites that we've covered. So yeah.
But no, Jayne's amazing. And then the other thing that I think is really good about our club is that everyone, not only are we from all these different time zones, which makes it very challenging to find times of the day. I was saying how Leanne stayed up the other day all night, and then came straight to book club at 4 a.m. But the other benefit of that is that we all have really interesting perspectives, because we're in different places. We've got different cultures, we've got different backgrounds and experiences, and so you're getting such a rich conversation that's qualified by such different experiences. And maybe this is not the best example of it, but when we were going through kind of the agriculture topic, we can all check in on each other's countries, like what happens
Yeah.
in this part of farming in your part of the world, and we thought that, you know, animals got treated this way, and so people can go and check on that. And so that's definitely a benefit of having this kind of global footprint. But I do remember one time where you were educating us, Krys, about some Australian habits.
Yeah, yeah, we were talking about fertilizing and natural fertilizers, and I don't know, we always segue into all sorts of topics, you know, far beyond what the book covers. And we were something about how we might be able to fertilize our own ground, and I'm like, oh yeah, you know, like lemon trees, you know, we on lemon trees. And all of a sudden I realized from looking at all the faces looking back at me that perhaps that was just an Australian thing. And so I then had to explain to everyone how, you know, in Australia most backyards have a lemon tree, and after at a barbecue, you know, the men don't bother going inside the house if they need to wee. They just wee on the lemon tree, and that's just like normal, like so normal that I thought it was worldwide, but apparently not. So that was that was quite funny. But yeah, it is amazing to hear from all different people around the world with their cultures and their different sort of life situations as well. I mean, we've got a couple of people who sort of are connected to farms, and we've got some scientists and stuff in our group as well, and, you know, other sort of lay people, and just different people from all sorts of different industries, which really makes it interesting because all of a sudden you can see things from different perspectives as well. So it's really amazing, the diversity we have, and everyone's just so lovely. Like, I mean, you guys figure I'd ask a lot of questions, and, you know, I don't feel silly for asking questions. It's really very welcoming group.
Yeah.
It's so
Yeah,
great to hear. Love that.
Yeah,
I was just going to
I mean, you even pop in from time to time, Casey, so it's good to see you there too.
Very occasional, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Casey comes along
And then,
when we have the author, so he can just say hi to the author because he knows them. So we're like,
yeah, because
Casey in our club.
If I can get like a virtual autograph, that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah. Bit of a selfie on the YouTube screen.
Exactly. Well, Krys, you mentioned lovely people in the group, and you are absolutely very lovely as well. So thank you so much for staying up in an ungodly hour to come on the show today and talk about your experience. I think it's really important to highlight the members of the community, and you are a great example of that. And so thank you so very much for coming onto our show today and sharing your experience in the book club. We really appreciate you.
Okay, thanks so much for having me on, and I'll go back to bed now.
Go back to bed, get some sleep. Thank you so much, Krys.
See ya.
Bye-bye. Well, Olivia, that was a really cool example of, hearing some different stories. And obviously we cover some very serious subject matter. You cover serious subject matter. You challenge people on their ideas, but just like Krys said, there's also like some funny things that happen. So what are some of your favorite, like, funny moments over the course of hosting this book club? I'm sure there's a few.
Oh God, there've been so many. There was one time we were really, really digging into the topic of cardiovascular disease and really trying to understand why does this disease start? And we just thought that the more that we studied cardiovascular disease, we were going to find the answer. We were going to figure out what is the actual root cause of cardiovascular disease. And we knew Malcolm Kendrick was coming on. We'd read his book. Some of us went off and read more of his books. So really in this serious topic and delving into it. And one of our book club members, Anne, who's French and is just hilarious, she was telling us about her previous heart attack, and she'd had a stent put in. And we asked her, what happened to the stent? Did it get taken out after, I think it was like 10 years ago? And she said, no, she went and had a checkup and her stent had disappeared. And so then we were all just sitting there wondering if that was good or not, and whether Anne was going to be, falling apart during book club. And so I said, well, are you going to be okay, Anne? Like, do you need to go and find your stent and figure out where it is, or what is it? And then Roger, another guy who's Scottish, just said something, and it set me off laughing so hard. I was literally crying my eyes out, and I had to leave the room, and I had to ask someone to take over. Like, I couldn't stop. And every time I tried to restart book club, I was crying with laughter because of this whole serious situation about Anne's stent, but her being so casual about it, like it's somewhere Yeah. Is it going to get lodged anytime soon? Is something going to happen that's going to kind of poke out your ear? What's going to happen? We've had so many silly moments like that. Gosh, I don't even think of any more. But you know, there's the one that Krys said about the lemon tree. We were actually having a discussion at that point about would we or wouldn't we urinate on our own vegetable patch and then consume our own like, is that a good thing or not? If we're in this kind of cycle of trying to reuse things, why is like human urine any worse than any other plant kind of fertilizer which has animal feces and urine in it? And you know, it's just a really like weird things that we spent like about 10 minutes all debating that. You know, so there's just been so many silly moments like that. As Mike said, it's just like people chatting a lot of the time. We keep it very
well, I can tell, like, even just with the two people that have popped on so far today, they're so comfortable with you and around you and just answering questions. Like, they're not normal, like, podcast guests. You know what I mean? They're not on major platforms trying to share their story, but coming onto our show, they're, like, super comfortable chatting with you. You can tell that you guys have done an amazing job building rapport and making a safe place where again, like Krys said, like, I feel comfortable asking questions here. They could be silly questions, or I could challenge something, and that's okay to be able to do that. And so I think that goes you know, to you to show how well you've done hosting and how well you've done, you know, integrating everybody in from all kinds of different places and cultures. And on that note, we've got our third and final guest of the show, which is Kim. So let's let Kim into the room. As we were waiting for you to jump on today, Olivia, Kim was testing out her camera and her sound. So we got to have a lovely little chat off of the record. So that was a lot of fun. And here is Kim now. Hello, Kim.
Hi, Casey. How are you? Hi, Olivia.
Hi.
I'm great. Glad you made it back. Glad we got everything tested, and it was lovely to chat with you before. And yeah, I believe Olivia is going to be asking you about your story.
Awesome.
Yeah, so
I'm
Kim,
ready.
just to tell everyone where you're from and a bit about your story and what you think of our book club.
Okay, well, first of all, I want to start. I brushed my hair this morning for everybody.
Wow, thank you. It looks great.
You look different.
So first of all, Carnivore was my last stop for health and weight loss, and probably a little bit more on weight loss than health, but it's turned out to be more on the health side than weight loss. And also too, I've been a biohacker for probably 8-10 years. And I have to say, by the end of my biohacking, my realization was it all came down to, it wasn't the supplements, it wasn't all the little hacks that I learned and stuff like that. It was what I was eating. And that was a real turnaround in my life for health. I was probably heaviest at 215, and I'm a veteran of the military. I've never been overweight in my whole entire life. I was always active. I was into weightlifting and running and all kinds of stuff. And I was also a heavy smoker, which really surprises people because I don't come across as a smoker. I quit in 2004. And yeah, so when I retired from the military, of course, I gained all kinds of weight. And that started me on my biohacking course. So then I got into Carnivore, and I started with one individual and I ended up with Dr. Anthony Chaffee, and it changed my life. And what even more so is our beautiful, international, wonderful book club. And it is amazing. I came in about halfway through. So the first 3 or 4 books, actually the first, I think 5 books, Olivia can correct me, I wasn't a part of, but the latter part, I've been soaking them up like a sponge. And first and foremost, Olivia is an absolutely amazing leader. She when she does the synopsis of the book, seriously, I mean, you don't even have to read the book. It's like you've read it when she does it. And then we all jump in and then give our 2 cents, or as I say, 5 cents, 10 cents, whatever, of the book. One of the biggest things, do you want me to keep going, Olivia?
Yeah, keep going.
Okay. So one of the biggest things I find, well, there's a couple of things I find out of the book club that I think is just absolutely amazing. The first and foremost is that Olivia has this, I don't know how she does it, because I know many, many, many people that are involved in a book club. First of all, it's not international. Second of all, is she gets these authors to join us at the end of the book club. And every book is very subjective, and I think you both can agree on this. And so when the author comes in, all of us give our interpretation of the book, and that's what makes it so subjective. So Olivia compiles these questions, and when the author comes on, she presents these questions, and sometimes we ask our questions as well, and it just brings this book into perspective, and now we understand where this author is coming from. So then our interpretation has been clarified, and it almost becomes objective. It isn't subjective anymore, which is, how many people get that opportunity? Not many. And all the book clubs that I know of, they don't. So I think that's very powerful. The other thing that's very powerful too is it's when the book club, it's not just about the book. We learn from each other because we are international. We get to learn about different the countries and the politics of the country and things that are happening there. That's where a lot of my true learning has come as well. And I mean, when we close for that Monday or Wednesday, which, oh my gosh, I just miss it. I wish we could do it every single day, 8 hours a day. I wish that was my job, was our book club, because my heart just like, oh, I can't take it that we're finished. I just want to go on and on and on and on. So it's like, so we go down these rabbit holes, and everybody like Nori and Olivia and Mike and all of it, and Krys and everybody, we just dig even deeper, because sometimes it's just not enough. We want to know more and more and more. So that's quite amazing. And my last thing I want to point out is I'm a military girl, and I'm a pretty tough chick, I guess you could say. I don't have a university degree, but I do have a degree in life, and all of us do. And I think that's probably my 60 years of living. That's what I think I bring to the club. And all my experiences that I bring, I don't think there's a textbook or an education that will ever define or replicate that type of teaching. And that's what we all bring to this book club. So that's my final that I want to say about it. And I mean, you just can't replicate that. You just can't. So that's my final say on it.
Thank you, Kim. Oh my God, you made me cry.
Oh,
we have this running joke about we're going to miss each other if we don't. Like in August, because we were on holiday and we were going places, we said we'll have a rest in August, and Kim was like, really? Do you want to? I'm going to miss you too much. And then in December coming up, we've got another, I guess, low month where I said, it's Christmas. Surely everyone wants to be with family. And our book clubs go on for like 2.5 hours the other day. We were still talking. So, and that's weekly that people are spending that much time with it. So I'm very conscious about people's time. And, in December, everyone needs to be with their family. So I said, let's have a rest in December. And everyone's like, well, can we still do something? Yeah. Like, what can we do? I said, okay, fine. Everyone just read what they want to read, and we'll have one session. It'll be like a Christmas party, and we'll all bring whatever insights we got from that book together and do some kind of review of them all. And then everyone's like, well, can't we do that every week rather than just the one session? So we're ending up with like the same situation that we normally have. So it's very hard to stop these people, they're just on a roll, these Kim people.
Yeah.
It's such a pleasure. And it's one of the highlights of my week as well. So I can't say it's any different.
And before I go, again, Casey, I love what you're doing. And like I said, Olivia introduced me to you. And like I say, it's an ongoing thing that I always joke about is I'm going to be like 175 or 200 years old by the time I'm finished watching all these podcasts and reading the books. But I'm so glad that you're in my back pocket and I get to watch you as well. So, and thank you for everything that you do as well.
Kim, that's really amazing and very kind. Thank you so very much. I love your story, and I love that you've been able to come on here and share that with us. It's very, very inspirational. I've loved talking to all of you, and we mentioned in the episode my attendance is a little bit subpar due to my schedule, but the times I get to come on and learn from you guys, I really do get very inspired with the people that are asking very sincere and genuine questions. Have been through quite a bit of suffering in their lives. And so thank you, Kim, so very much for taking the time to come on our show today. We just really appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you, Olivia.
Thank you, Kim. See you soon. See you in Discord.
She gets sad when it's not book club.
I know, it's just incredible. I don't even know how it's all worked out this way, but I remember having a new resolution, I don't know, about 10 years in a row, that I was going to read more books, and I never really got around to it. So I was in this myself in this position that I never read, and I felt bad about it because I love reading. And since book club has come along, what Kim was or Mike was saying about, I do a synopsis of each chapter. So I kind of play it back for people in case they're listening later and they haven't read the book, or, so, and then we discuss it. And so I've gone from reading never to reading and having to make notes about the whole book as I go. So it's, for me, a huge benefit, because I'm really I'm spending my time doing something I know I want to do anyway. And we've got the added kind of richness of everyone else's input on top of that. So I can't say, everyone's saying how much they love it, but to me, I think it's probably more rewarding than for anyone else, because I'm getting all of that depth as well. So
wow. So these synopses, you are actually making them, creating them yourself. It's not something you're taking, cutting and pasting, sticking together. You're actually creating all of these.
Yep. Yeah. So and it's just because we go chapter by chapter through the book. We really do analyze a book very deeply. And so we maybe group the chapters, but we tend to have a chunk that we'll do each week, and I'll summarize what was in there. So I have to make those notes so that I can summarize what was in there. And as I'm summarizing, I'm thinking, well, what kind of questions does this bring up? How does it relate to other things we've talked about? And think about the discussion points that I'll trigger off. Normally people are like, oh, that's just a bit way out there. I'm like, yeah, but just think about it and see what you think. So yeah, so some people are saying, well, we don't even need to read the book if you're going to be doing these synopses. I'm like, no, you still need to read the book. I'm not here to get you off the hook on that. Everyone has to read and come with their thoughts. So no, it's just such good fun. I think that's why people like it. It's just good fun.
That's great. Where were you when I was in high school and I had to write book reports and I never read the books? I could have really used those. That would have really helped my grades out quite a bit. That's amazing. I do want to ask you about a few more stories, but before I do, we've heard from 3 amazing people who really have stood out, have been in the book club for a very long time. What's maybe another person that really stands out to you as having a really special story and having a story, especially of healing through carnivore?
In the book club, you mean?
Yeah, in the book club.
Gosh, there's so many. I mean, so someone that I'm very close to as well, who is in the book club, but also in the community in general, is someone called Wendy. And she's on her own journey, and it's an incredible, incredible journey. I wish one day that she will tell it properly. But she had some serious, serious mental health issues, and, found herself one day in a very, very compromising position. And she's got 8 lovely boys, but she wasn't able to really be there for them with all of these problems that she had. She's ex-military as well. And Carnivore has really allowed her to reclaim her life back and her mental health back. And what she's doing now is she's absolutely thriving. She used to stay in the house all the time. She's traveling all over the States. She used to be scared of the cold. We're convincing her to get an ice plunge, and she's kind of going for that now. She used to not want to converse with people, and now she's doing all of these major kind of ballooning events where she's helping and working in a team and pulling ropes and all this kind of stuff. And her and Mike have met up around that Vegas area, and the connections that people now have through this community, and how we're all healing each other every day and having these discussions every day. And Kim herself is, as you saw, very inspirational. She's very inspirational in our community, and she's helped people along their own mental health issues as well. I just find the whole thing such a joy every day, seeing people like Wendy just have an amazing life like they should do. And it just confirms to me that there is so much work here to do, and there is so much potential out there in the world in human beings that is not being realized right now because of what is just unacceptable levels of misinformation out there that we need to do something about. So everything kind of connects up for me, you know, reading these books, having these conversations with people, learning together, improving our own lives. And a big part of why we're doing this is because it's not enough for us to just improve. I don't think anyone is going to be really happy being the last person standing of everyone that they know. Everyone wants their own family to come along this journey at some point. We don't want to push people. We don't want to be, you know, kind of know-it-alls or anything like that. But we've got to figure out how we bring this message out in the open a bit more in the mainstream. And it's a really hard thing to do without sounding like a conspiracy theorist, without sounding like, you know, you're just one of these people that's now got a new idea and you're just going to tell everyone about it and become really boring. You know, whatever the kind of the friction is, it's hard to kind of live in that society. And that's why I think this kind of community is so important. But B, you want to help people ultimately. And I think the reason, the motivation behind all of this is that we all want to be able to help those around us that need the help, whether they're ready to or not at this point, maybe not, you know, not in our control. But when they are ready, we want to be able to kind of provide that and pass this forward. So I think, yeah, that's where the meaning for it really ends up, you know, just coming clear for us all when we're going through this. We can all connect it back to how the rest of the world is and how we want to see the world change.
Yeah. No, I wrestle with that all the time. Once you find something so amazing, you really do just want to share it with everybody. And it's even down to like when I'm pushing a shopping cart to get my receipt checked at Costco, I want to point out, like, check it out. It's like plant free, but it doesn't do anything for people that aren't ready. As much as I want to shout it from the rooftops, it's just not the best way to share it, like you mentioned. And so doing things, you know, like what you're doing and inviting people and being open and kind to them to be able to bring them in and answer questions, I think is the most effective way. Do you have one other moment in doing and hosting these book clubs itself, one moment that really stands out for you?
Gosh, there's so many. I'm not sure I can choose one. I mean, I think we're really, I don't know if this stands out most, but one moment that we all had a very interesting conversation was when we were reading Lierre's book, which is very much about the cycles of nature and how everything, we're all here for a reason and we're all going to feed each other ultimately. No one's really taking more out of the system than they're going to end up giving back. We all have to play our part in whichever part of the cycle we're in. And us as humans and Homo sapiens, we are going to give back to the soil one day. One day we'll be buried. And we had a really interesting conversation about, well, what does that mean for how we need to be buried then? Like, has anyone ever thought of this? If we are spending our whole lives taking out of the system because we've been going to be alive for decades and we're going to be, you know, consuming all of the meat and all of the nutrients that we can, when it's our turn to give back, how do we bury ourselves in a way where we actually do give back properly to the soil? And no one has any idea about that. So we've been like trying to figure out the answer to that. And, you know, do we need to be buried in a certain kind of box? Should we be embalmed? Is that a good thing or not a good thing as far as feeding the soil? Is it better to be cremated or is it better to be buried? Should we just be like, you know, thrown in a shallow grave somewhere? Is that the best thing? Like, it's really weird conversations. And someone was saying, well, I'm just happy to just be thrown in a bush. And we're like, well, that's not allowed. So how do we kind of square that circle? It was such a strange conversation, but I don't know. That's one moment that just I always remember and think, God, we're just, and I even said to Lierre, like, I'm sorry, I'm sure we're going to ask you all the questions you've been asked before. And she said, no one has ever asked me that question before.
Wow.
These are the random original things that you guys are thinking of. So yeah, I think just we, you know, our creative juices just flow when we read the stuff and we really think big picture and, you know, we think about personal experiences and our lives. And yeah, it's just very enriching in that way.
Well, that's really come through in this conversation with all the participants in the book club, that like you would think somebody on a carnivore diet doesn't care about the environment, they don't care about animals, they don't think about the health of the planet. And I found just the opposite. I know that vegans and vegetarians think about that kind of stuff, but carnivores think about that stuff as well. We want to be very thoughtful about all of that. So I love that was one of the topics and something you were able to ask Lierre about. Olivia, for you personally, what are you the most proud of?
Oh gosh. I don't know if I'm proud. I'm proud. I'm proud of just everyone in the club and how much they love it and they participate. But I feel it's just a bit of luck that we've kind of got to this. It's just none of it has been by design. It's just kind of happened. I guess what I'm probably proud of is that I do make people question things, and I do, you know, deliberately say, but yeah, if I was a vegan, I would say da 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 da. And so how are we gonna, you know, George Monbiot, I don't know if you follow him, but he has some very, now that we're in the agriculture and environment topic at the moment, he has some very challenging views on the environment. So I'm going and listening to everything he's ever said, and I'm trying to relay it to everyone in the club to say, look, this is what we're coming up against. This is like the alternative view. What are we ready for it? Are we able to defend against it? How does what he says, which is very well articulated, not make sense? He's a very good arguer. I even watched him debate Alan Savory at Oxford University, and that didn't go very well, unfortunately. So we've got to be ready for these challenges. So I think what I'm proud of is bringing that insight out, which people are not going to naturally go and seek themselves. And I think I'm really proud that we've also, something you just said a minute ago, Casey, about ethics and where are our ethics as carnivores. I think sometimes as a carnivore community, we can be a little bit brash about animal welfare, and you know, I don't see the compassion coming out of us and our concerns about animal welfare as much as you see it on, you know, however militant a vegan is, they do have compassion for animals. And I don't see why the two are mutually exclusive. Like, I believe that, you know, I love animals so much, and that doesn't mean to say I don't feel like there's any conflict with eating them. I'm very much in the Lierre Keith camp about we all play our part, and I'm very grateful for the nutrition that is provided by beef and other animals. So, you know, but I do think we are concerned about the ethics of animals, and we really believe that I want animals to be treated and have as great a life as they can. And that's why, you know, we started challenging our own views on ethics, and we were talking about dairy calves and what happens to them, and are they slaughtered at birth, and if so, are we comfortable with that, and are we happy being carnivores consuming dairy if that's one of the parts of the kind of the consequences of it. So we all went on a bit of a mission to actually investigate dairy calves and what happens there, and got ourselves much more comfortable with what really does happen and where we're buying our dairy from, so that we can take that ethical viewpoint into account. So I think helping people face up to some of these ethical questions that maybe we don't really face up to as carnivores, I'm really proud of that, because I think we should be, you know, there is not a monopoly on ethics and morality that people who don't eat meat can assume. I think we can have as strong a case for it, and we just don't necessarily pull that case together or think about it very much, which doesn't make sense to me, because I love animals, and I think we should be kind of proud of our position and be able to be confident about it. So yeah, so I think, you know, that kind of challenging view and getting people to maybe different places that they wouldn't normally think about, I'm pretty proud of that.
I love that. What a very lovely answer and a very special episode. I'm going to be petitioning to Dr. Anthony Chaffee to pay you and I both a commission for doing this episode, which has turned out to be a commercial for book club. It's such a cool collection. And like I've said several times, I lament the fact that I can't attend as much as I like, but I'm more than happy to pay the fee to belong to Dr. Anthony Chaffee's Patreon to get access to these great chats and so much other great content. It's such a high value for a very low ask, and just having you be a part of it and owning it the way that you have is just absolutely wonderful. And to hear the you know, again, the inspiring voices of all these people who were able to come on today really created something special. So really appreciate you and for taking the time to do this. Where can people go to find you and connect with you and your work?
Well, I'm generally on Instagram, Olivia Khwaja. I'm sure you'll put it in the show notes, and Twitter as well. My organization that I'm part of is the Public Health Collaboration that you mentioned. I'm sure that will be linked as well. And we are a charity in the UK that are doing specifically what I said earlier on, which is trying to help people understand nutrition and know the power that it can have on their metabolic health and how important their metabolic health is. And so anyone who would like to support us, we would really love to have you follow us or join as a member. And we'll be having lots of content coming out soon, including the talk that you talked about, Casey. The debate is going to be coming out this side of Christmas, and so everyone needs to be ready for that, because I'm going to be making sure everyone's getting excited about it. And yeah, so anything you can do to support Public Health Collaboration or myself, and if you'd love to join our book club, we'd love to have you. So hopefully we'll see you there participating at hopefully not too ungodly an hour for you.
That's amazing. Yeah, we've heard so many people talking about that particular debate who were there in person. I know you were as well. And so I'm so excited to be able to watch that. But Olivia, again, this was a very special moment, a very special occasion. So thank you so very much for everything you do. Thank you for hosting book club. Thank you for inviting all these wonderful people to be on our show today. We appreciate you and we appreciate everybody who participated. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Casey. Thanks for having an episode on our book club. We love it. And we love having you in the club and we love always talking to you. So just come along more. That's my only feedback to you.
I would love to. If I have to fire some clients, maybe I'll do that. Well, that's amazing. Well, thanks again, Olivia. We really, really appreciate you. And this has been another episode of Boundless Body Radio.
Carnivore, you have to look at stress and get out other things in your environment and cut out the beef, pork. No, sorry, not the beef, the pork, chicken, and farmed fish, especially farmed fish is terrible. Just cut out the dairy for good measure. You just play it as safe as possible and just go red meat and water.